As Bitcoin continues to hold within the mid $60,000 territory, there's one thing that is for certain within this overall market, which is altcoins will lose. Versus Bitcoin, at least, at least on the whole. And of course, that is not to say that altcoins versus US dollar valuations will go down. We need to take that on an individualistic basis. And other than that, we'll also talk about a little bit of Bitcoin price action as well. Bitcoin did play out a bounce from yesterday. In this case, not really much has changed, to be quite honest with you, but we'll go through it as far as what is important for today, Friday. Anyways, now we can just jump right into the charts, waste no more time. Start off with the chart of the day, which is the Bitcoin dominance chart. We were looking at a reclaim of the 52.5% level back on over in February as once again bullish for this, which does just generally represent the altcoin versus Bitcoin valuations. Now, I do want to say at the outset that while this chart is bullish, which does imply that, altcoin versus Bitcoin's pairings are going to be losing value in general, there will be one-offs here and there, of course. And we've certainly seen that a lot of times within the cycle already. And I really do think that you need to bifurcate between probably the newer and stronger altcoins versus basically just all the older ones. All the older ones I would say are likely going to fall under this umbrella that they will be losing valuation versus Bitcoin. I do still expect this to go to the upside. I do also want to state, I don't think that this is the best the best possible metric to be looking at, but it gets the job done for now. And this is a very clear and obvious continuation signal right here as all major moving averages have switched into a bullish posturing. We haven't seen this in many, many years now, in many, many years. So in this case, I do expect that this will continue to go upwards and always probably towards 58%. It's going to take its time, of course. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that all altcoins versus Bitcoin is going to go down. I do believe that probably the stronger and newer altcoins are going to be going up versus Bitcoin, or at least holding their own. But what does this kind of suggest? It does kind of suggest that Bitcoin in this current consolidationary period is probably going to start to eat things up yet again, which is very much, consistent with what we saw in 2017. I mean, I really do think that sort of market cycle is rhyming with this one. Bitcoin was getting CME futures at that point. Bitcoin in this cycle has gotten ETFs, of course. Both major traditional market things, and we do see kind of similar price action with a Bitcoin dominantly led market with a few altcoins also showing some strength as well. Anyways, here's a total 3 market cap. Overall, I do want to reiterate that long term, altcoins versus Bitcoin, not altcoins versus Bitcoin, but altcoins versus US dollar, they're generally going to be going up. They're just probably not going to go up as much as Bitcoin. Therefore, the altcoin Bitcoin pairing, naturally goes down for most of them. But in this case, looking at the total 3 market cap, which is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins, well, this is bullish long term. It very likely makes new highs, probably this year, I would say, maybe around end of year, to be fair. But for the short term, is it in a corrective phase? Yeah, it's in a corrective phase. Completely fine, especially after having a major move like this. Wouldn't be too out of the ordinary to see come back down somewhere around like 700 billion even right there before the next sort of bounce attempt. In this case, the higher term time frame still very much, our continuation as far as I'm concerned. I mean, here's the monthly RSI getting back to that bullish control zone for the first time basically since November of 2020. If we go to the quarterly, again, just continuation here. If we go to the 6 month, I'm guessing it's probably going to be the same thing. What do you know? Same shit. And even the yearly is going to be, long term, very, 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 very likely. Probably even this year making new all-time highs, very likely at latest next year. So altcoins in general can be gaining value versus their US dollar parents, just not as much as Bitcoin, but the strong will likely carry the whole valuations anyways. So, I mean, realistically, in any cycle, it's kind of just a handful of them that are really strong, Anyways, going on now, we can go into some Bitcoin price action. So Bitcoin yesterday, we were looking at the $69,000 pivot as basically a pivot for as long as Bitcoin's below. It's still corrective. Yes, it can bounce around. That's really fine. But ultimately, as long as it's below $69,000, downside is still more likely overall, or at least the correction is likely to drag on from its current posturing. Now, Bitcoin did see a test to $69,000 yesterday. Even trading a little bit above $69,000, but with no closure above that region, it's kind of just a trappy region. And I'd still say the same thing today. As long as Bitcoin is below $69,000, there is not really anything significant for the boo laws here. As far as, looking at this as correction over and ready to rock back on towards or above 70,000 bucks. But for right now, Bitcoin likely continues on with its sideways price action, probably testing a little bit more downside. The pivot now for the daily stochastic momentum is at 69,400. I'm curious if you guys can actually hear the washing machine in the background. It's like super fucking loud and really getting in the way of my it's like it's confusing my damn head is what it's doing. Anyways, in this case, yeah, pressure still remains to the downside. This would also be considered a rejection of the bullish control zone, living below that moving average on the stochastic oscillator as well. Assuming that today continues down below 69,000 bucks, which I believe it very likely will. So Bitcoin, in my opinion, is likely to kind of dig its way sideways and a little bit down. But with the way that Bitcoin price action did operate yesterday, I do think that massively strengthens the case, as we'll go over later, that it probably does put in a low above $60,000, meaning that I don't think that we're going to see below $60,000. But still, it's a long time between now and the halving. I mean, it is the 5th day of April, and I believe the halving is on the 20th day of it's. Is it actually on 420? Oh my fucking God. That's great. That's great if it is. I just realized that right now. Or even just the fact that it's around 420. That is also great as well. It's just close enough. Anyways, my point is that, that is an eternity in trading. 15 days. So it's a lot of time to kind of eat up going sideways here, but I expect that, the more sideways above 6,000 bucks, the better. And anyways, moving on from there, we can see that the 2-day time frame pivot is also going to be continuing to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below where? $69,000. The 5-day pivot, which actually is not closing today, it's closing a little while from now, but the weekly is closing today for CME, and that one continues down as well as long as Bitcoin is below 72,400. So as long as all of these things are kind of, playing hand in hand with that downside momentum, higher term timeframes are corrective here. And you're going to see bounces and ebbs and flows both ways. And just like I said yesterday, on yesterday's move, Bitcoin plays out a couple $1,000 move to the upside. You're going to see a lot of people get super, super bullish. Holy shit, the lows are in. It's time to go back up to a million, quadrillion, bajillion. And I'm not bullish enough. But, and of course, today, Bitcoin coming back down, a couple $1,000 bucks, you're going to see people start to be like, oh my God, it is going below $50,000 right now. Sell. Realistically, we're probably in for a sideways market until the halving, with a range basically between very low 60s and just above 70. So with short-term downside pressure still mounting on Bitcoin. Anyways, so yes, we've gone through that. I do want to state, yes, let's go through the HPDR bands as well. Rejection rate at 38.2. We're seeing volatility start to have a little bit of a tick up here with directional volatility angle to the downside, but it is kind of, it is also, it's mostly a plot of this move already. I do think, what is this likely amount towards? Probably a retest of these lows over here, like low 60s, 64,500 bucks perhaps for another wick down around there, maybe in the next couple days. Try for another bounce as well. If we do start to see closures below that region, at that point, I suppose, continuation move to $62,500 does become quite likely. But that would also be another bouncy region, and that would still be a higher low compared to what you did see back when over here in Tuesday, March of, of the past month. So just more sort of perspective here that, hey, Bitcoin can do something like this very easily, come down, set in a higher low, then constructively work its way out sometime around, the 20th perhaps, or end of this month. And then you got upside pressure yet again. So I just want to reiterate my stance on this channel. I don't think it's a time to be getting super bullish nor super bearish, or certainly not super bearish. If Bitcoin loses 60,000 bucks, I look at that as a value area. I think worst case scenario here is we see like a low 50s, if that. If, again, that's a big fucking if. I mean, maybe you see like a big spike down around halving, definitely possible. But at the end of the day, as long as Bitcoin is still above this higher low over here, I personally speaking, would not give that it's like not a tradable opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to once again state, or not just state, but go over that the 2-day time frame on CME here is building hidden bullish divergence between this low, that same low from the 18th or 19th of March, and this potential low over here. Again, that does not mean it has to go up exactly from this moment. It can come down a little bit more, but ultimately that is going to be likely a play going onwards from here. So how would this potentially work? If this was going to be confirmed as hidden bullish divergence, which it is not right now, it's just potential, how would you guys confirm it? Well, first things first, we need to see today close something like you currently see it, just not lower than, let's call it like $62,000. And then once today closes, we need to see sometime in the next, I would say, two periods for CME, which is not over the weekend, doesn't trade over the weekend. We'll start trading next week. We need to see it take back above this high that was set in last night. For CME, that is actually 69,910. So yeah, that, could that happen, sometime next week? Perhaps, yes. I think still probably some sideways, as it just eats up time, is the most likely thing to be happening within the next like couple week spread. So, yeah, I think that's maybe a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. I should say that, hey, if and when that hidden bullish divergence does get confirmed, you can expect another retest of, in this case, all-time highs. The high of this rally, very, very, somewhat soon after that, probably makes new highs from there. But for right now, corrections still abound, sideways and down, as pressure does mount to the downside. I just, again, want to state, don't think it's time to be getting super bullish nor super bearish. Certainly avoiding getting super bearish in this particular time, as long as trends are to the upside. It's time to be a monkey boy. It's time to be a monkey boy, just mostly watching, really. So, and thinking about the long term. At least that's my opinion. So, yeah, hopefully that was in some way helpful. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.